What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of best bets and props. This time it's for UFC London, Blaydes versus Aspinall. Very fun fight week. I love this main event. Heavyweight clash at the top level between Tom Aspinall, who has been on a streak recently, never seen the judges' scorecards, against Curtis Blaydes, who's been in the UFC for a long time and just never quite reached that championship fight. So good to see those two guys. I love all the European talent on this card. Seeing fights at the O2 Arena, amazing. The fans are hyped, the fighters are hyped. But betting-wise, man, holy hell. I need a drink for this one. A lot of mispriced money lines where, the favored fighter is who I think is going to win, but man, they're just way too big of a favorite. It's hard as a bettor to really gain value from a lot of the spots this week, but tried my hardest to pick some money lines that I still think are priced appropriately, are still bettable, and of course I'll share my 2, 4, and 6 leg parlays, which will be key this week because we got to trust some big favorites on this card to come through. It'll be, for me personally, very make or break betting wise. I can see this being a very, very, very good night or a bad night. So without further ado, also hit that like, hit that subscribe. I will be changing this actual video that we're watching now. I think I'll be changing this show into a longer form live stream with some notable guests from the mixed martial arts betting community, people that you know and respect. I want to get their opinions on these fights and actually go over that with them, like in a live stream format instead of this shorter form show. Maybe I'll keep a shorter form show, just like my betting action for the week, but best bets and props I will be turning into a live stream very, very soon. So I'm going to be picking up the phone and making those phone calls to some of my homies in this community that you guys all know and respect. So look out for that. A lot of fun changes coming to this channel and additional content. So hit that subscribe, coming very soon. Going over some of the more confident money lines this week. Top of the list for me is Tom Aspinall himself in the main event. Minus 125 is where I threw a few units on him. 3 units I put on Tom Aspinall. Inside the distance is how I see this going down, but the inside the distance prop is not that much more than his money line. So the bookies are on to the fact that he's never seen the judges' scorecards. Probably will finish this inside the distance at heavyweight. So over Curtis Blaydes, I think Tom Aspinall presents cleaner, more effective striking. I think Curtis Blaydes will be figured out on the feet. He's a little bit robotic in his movements at times, predictable, easy to counter, as we've seen in the past. He does have the takedown offense for Curtis Blaydes, but Tom Aspinall is very dangerous on the ground. We've seen sometimes when Curtis Blaydes gets, against a BJJ practitioner, sometimes those threats of those submissions will make him stand the fight up. I think Tom Aspinall represents a very mobile heavyweight with, some tricks up his sleeve Curtis Blaydes has never seen before. So give me that on the money line, minus 125. I know he's currently around like minus 140 or so. Still bettable on the money line in my opinion. Next up on the money line is Nikita Krylov over Alexander Gustafsson, who is returning. Gustafsson's returning for, second or third comeback here at 205. Last time we saw him try to make a run at heavyweight against Verdum. Got grounded very quickly in round 1 and tapped out. Same was the case before that against Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith at 205, where he got grounded out and tapped out once again. So he's on a 2 submission loss streak. Hasn't had a win in the MMA world in a long time, So Nikita Krylov, minus 180 on the money line over Gustafsson. This is both me betting on the ability of Krylov, but also, fading Gustafsson. I just don't see this going well for Gustafsson, who reached his prime. We're going on like 10 years ago he reached his prime. So I think Krylov can land inside, the close range striking exchanges, close the distance, get this against the cage, drag Gustafsson to the ground, probably end the fight there. So that's how I see this playing out. Minus 180 for Krylov, not bad. Chris Curtis, on short notice, just fought Rodolfo Vieira like 4 weeks ago. I like Chris Curtis at minus 110. Still getting fair prices on Chris Curtis. He's shown a great ability to defend takedowns in his last fight. He's shown an ability to close the distance against, bigger guys than him, like Brendan Allen. So Jack Hermansson about the same size, a big height advantage, maybe a slight reach advantage. And a guy in Hermansson who needs the takedowns to win this fight and employ some of the best ground and pound we've seen in the game. He could do that against Chris Curtis. I think Jack Hermansson does have slightly better takedown offense than Adolfo Vieira, but we just saw Chris Curtis able to defend takedowns, and at minus 110 for him to do it again, I'll take that bet. Chris Curtis also has power on the feet as well, power in both hands, so he could end this inside the distance. He could win a decision. I like Chris Curtis at minus 110. Don't have to get fancy with any sort of props. Minus 110, fair enough for me, for the action man Chris Curtis. Jonathan Pierce over Makwan Amirkhani at minus 110 on the money line. I would play this a little bit differently. I would maybe try to even live bet Jonathan Pierce in between rounds 1 and rounds 2. Makwan Amirkhani does have some decent striking early. He does have very good takedown offense and submission ability early. He fades late. That's the case for most of his fights. After round 1, he's a shell of himself in round 2, even more of a shell of himself in round 3. He is a threat against Jonathan Pierce. Makwan Amirkhani, very, very opportunistic submission artist, very good at locking up submissions very, very quickly. 1 second, your neck is exposed. Maybe you shot a sloppy takedown on him. Next second, you're tapping or going to sleep. So I'm not sleeping on Makwan Amirkhani. I just think you get a better price tag on Jonathan Pierce in round 2. Amirkhani usually gets that takedown and control time in round 1. So if he does, you get a better line on Jonathan Pierce. If Jonathan Pierce dominates from the opening bell, well, you've just avoided, the danger that was presented to you. So either you get the bet or you don't. I'd say try to live bet this one after round 1. Potential props for this one, I only have a few for this fight card. First being Jai Herbert to win by knockout, minus 110. You can transform the big money line of Jai Herbert over Kyle Nelson by playing this by knockout, where Herbert has gotten 9 knockouts out of his 11 pro MMA wins. Obviously a huge win condition for Jai Herbert, the Black Country banger, minus 110. I like that by knockout. Paddy Pimblett, similarly to win inside the distance at minus 130. I like that prop because you can transform, again, his big money line over Jordan Levitt in the most likely win condition, which is inside the distance. He is on a 4 first-round finish streak, so 2 of those are submissions, 2 of those are knockouts, and 2 of them at the UFC level so far. So Paddy Pimblett has a big advantage on the feet here, more than on the ground. Even Paddy Pimblett, round 1 knockout over Jordan Levitt, I've seen plus 600, plus 700 still today. So, just playing inside the distance, not getting too crafty with it, minus 130. I like that one. Haven't gotten there myself yet, but, because I have Paddy Pimblett in a parlay as well, which I'll go over very soon. But the inside the distance, minus 130, not a bad way to play it. Fight does not go to decision for Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson, a fight I touched on earlier. It's only minus 170 for it not to go to decision. Under 2.5 in that same fight is minus 130. I like both of those. I might put a half unit on both of those. These guys are pretty big 205ers. For Nikita Krylov, 33 of his 36 fights have not gone to the scorecards. For Gustafsson, in turn, 19 of his 25 fights have not seen the scorecards. So I've had a little bit of whiskey here. What's that math? 33 out of 36. That's around 90%, I think, for Krylov not going to the scorecards. 19 out of 25. That's around like 75% or so, I believe, for Gustafsson. So you're getting a very discounted price on that fight doesn't go prop at minus 170. Under 2.5. Not much different than that, minus 130. I like those a lot. Confident fighters I have on this card, I'll go over my top 6, starting with Mark D. Casey, number 1, Tom Aspinall, number 2. I have those 2 parlayed, 2 units on that parlay. Adding on Mason Jones, number 3, Jai Herbert, number 4, for a 4-leg parlay at 1.5 units on that. Adding on Nathaniel Wood and Paddy Pimblett as number 5 and 6 most confident fighters on this card. 1 unit on that now combined 6-leg parlay. Aspinall, DKC, Jones, Herbert, Nathaniel Wood, Paddy Pimblett, 1 unit on the 6-leg parlay. Now, I will say this. I do have Tom Aspinall high up there, right? I got his money line for a few units. I have him 2 units with Mark DKC parlayed. If I am in a spot where DKC, Jones, Herbert win, and I have Aspinall closing out a 4-leg parlay, or better case scenario, I got Nathaniel Wood and Paddy Pimblett as well. Tom Aspinall going to close out a 6-leg parlay. If I'm that lucky, I will hedge out and put money on Curtis Blaydes in a fashion where no matter who wins that main event fight, Blaydes or Aspinall, I am up money. I will play it that way and hedge out on Curtis Blaydes. So, there is high volatility at heavyweight. Obviously, Tom Aspinall never seeing those, the third round, fourth round, fifth round. I'm confident that he can win those rounds. I'm confident he can win even a late fight. But just because of the volatility of it, and this is a sketchy fight card, if I'm that lucky to close out those parlays with Aspinall, I will hedge out and guarantee profit on either side. Along those lines, what big favorites this week do I think have the most chance of failing us? Nicholas Dalby is on that list. I think he's probably like a 3-1 favorite at this point in the week over Claudio da Silva. I see it. I think Dalby should win this fight most of the time. But on the money line, I think Claudio da Silva has a much better chance than his implied odds indicate. I picked him to win in my full card breakdown. I think he's a very dangerous threat, a wet blanket type of BJJ practitioner. If he can get this fight in his old age, he's almost 40 years old, battling some injuries here. But I still think if there's gas left in the tank for him to crowd the aggressive striker of Nicholas Dalby, survive whatever punishment Dalby throws his way, get this fight to the cage, get it to the ground, and start working control time and possibly a submission, I like that a lot, and I think he's got way more of a chance than the money line indicates in this fight. Not enough for me to bet this, as an underdog price here, but I'm just staying away from the Nicholas Dalby side as much as I can, right? So you're not seeing him in my top 6 parlays. He is a big favorite, but I don't trust that much. I think Claudio da Silva still has enough skill left in his tank. He just faced not only Court McGee, but, James Krause. Both of those guys very good on the ground, good at negating those offensive positions on the ground. So Nicholas Dalby, not too much trust from me this week. Muhammad Mokaev, a huge favorite over Charles Johnson, who's making his debut. I get it. He's the hot prospect, the young Dagestani. Good takedowns, which is where Charles Johnson suffers, but Charles Johnson gets better as the fight goes on. A very capable striker, and if Muhammad Mokaev shows any sort of lapse of judgment on the feet, tires out as this fight goes on from holding Johnson down, I think Johnson is live to finish this on the feet at striking range. Way more than his money line would indicate as well. So I'm staying off of Mokaev as much as possible. Jonathan Pierce, I mentioned the danger that I see posed his way against Makwan Amirkhani in round 1. I would live bet that one after round 1. Once the danger is gone for Pierce for the most part from Amirkhani, you could live bet that in between. Molly McCann is on that list as well. Way too big of a favorite. Way more of a favorite over Hannah Goldie than she should be. Hannah Goldie should probably on paper be the better wrestler in this fight. Better in the ground, and that's where McCann has suffered before. So based off of that alone, and McCann, she's got very aggressive striking and things like that, but it's not the cleanest, not the crispest, not where it would indicate that this should be a walkover, and she doesn't usually have much finishing ability in her fights. So why is she a huge favorite like this, minus 400 plus? I don't understand. So another person I'm trying to avoid, but I do think she wins. So those are the favorites that I'm trying to stay off of. Again, if you want to go over my top, just the top list of confident fighters 1 through 14 here, I do have Diakese, Aspinall, Jones, Herbert, Wood, Pimblett as the top 6, right? I then went on from there to Jonathan Pierce, Molly McCann, Muhammad Mokaev, Nikita Krylov, Chris Curtis, Paul Craig, Victoria Leonardo, and finally Claudio Enrique da Silva. That would be my top, 1 through 14 of confidence there, right? So the later fighters, not as confident. I will kind of like CJ Safdie style, if you watch Cody and you see how he does a progressive parlay, pairing off those. I will pair all of them, but again, the 8-leg, 10-leg, 12-leg, and 14-leg, those are fractions of units. You're a 1/8 or 1/10 of a unit on those, not even worth really calculating. So if it hits big, and it's fun for everybody involved, but again, not worth really mentioning the units on that because it's just not that much at all. It's fractions, so just a way to demonstrate where the confidence is or lack of confidence for those bigger favorites towards the bottom of that list. So I think we've gone over everything, a very make or break week as far as UFC London. It should be a very fun, entertaining fight card. But again, stay tuned for some of the changes on this channel. The live streaming coming very soon with some guests and friendly faces you guys know and love in the MMA Twitter, MMA YouTube community. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I love all the support on this channel so far. You guys are the best. And I will talk to you guys next time on Sunday for the recap and results for UFC London. Good luck on all your betting action. I will talk to you guys next time. Cheers.